The second, and this is probably the biggest and the one that is easiest to spot, is taxes. And as you know, especially if you've been listening to this podcast or other liberty-minded podcasts for a while, the government has been taxing people for decades, and there's a tax on everything. I mean, you don't need to be very old for me to tell you that there's a tax on, retail purchases, there's taxes on e-commerce, there's taxes on filling out certain types of paperwork. There's a tax on everything. There's real estate tax, there's licensing taxes, there's property taxes, there's taxes are about as thick as the air we breathe. So you might be asking, so like what's the whole big deal about taxes? Why are taxes such a thorn in the side of libertarians? Why is that something that is just so bothersome to people like us? The reason for that is because taxes are basically a way of saying, you don't know how to spend your own money. We're going to take that money from you, and we're going to redistribute it and give it to the areas that we think need to, the areas that we believe will benefit the most from the money that we've taken from you. So obviously, it's especially true of the liberal side of things, but some conservatives have gripes with libertarians about taxes as well. And one of the biggest things I hear is, well, if we didn't have taxes, we wouldn't be able to help the poor, the sick, the needy, the people who have fallen on hard times, people who have lost their jobs. And I agree. I believe it is a sign of a healthy society to voluntarily help those who are struggling, especially in the large and complex society that we live in today. Just speaking about America alone, not even referencing the rest of the world at the moment. America is a large nation. We're 335 million people, I think, somewhere around there. And, tons of different cultures, people, backgrounds, languages, customs. It's the melting pot idea, right? But without getting too far off track, I totally believe that it is important for people to help each other and show each other support and compassion, especially when people need it. That doesn't mean that the government is the best way to use a system like taxation. That doesn't mean that government is the best solution for these societal problems and people who have fallen on hard times. That is why libertarians emphasize voluntarism. Personally, I donate a certain amount of my income each month to various organizations, things that I care about. It's a mix of organizations and the type of work that they do, so I won't get into details, but I'm certainly not the only person who does that. There's many people who do that. That is really what it can look like in a healthy, flourishing society, where people who care about a particular cause, they will donate to it. All you have to really do is get your message in front of the right people, make a great ask, and that is how nonprofits succeed. Obviously, there's always a challenge raising enough money and getting donors. It's not to say that everything just magically falls into place, but that is the best method to do things, because number one, it's encouraging people to be responsible for the decisions they make and the organizations they support. You can't do that with the government. If the government's just taking the money away and saying, trust us with everything else, that is not a way to foster responsibility and paying attention to everything that's going on in the world. And number two, it allows people to be discerning in what they want to give to and how much they want to give. If there's like 5 different causes that someone cares about, they can decide how much money they want to give to those 5 different causes. Plus, I should toss in a third. By letting people spend their own money, it requires people to be prepared to help their own family and help their own their own kids and just their spouses and stuff like that. It requires people to just be aware of everything that they're going to face in life, whether it's getting an emergency fund to, have the money that you need when you've fallen on hard times and something unexpected happens, or you're just, as life goes on, you and or your parent, well, obviously both you and your parents are getting older, and you can help them out if need be, and that doesn't really happen with the government. Plus, the government can and does basically just take everyone's money, put it into a giant pool, and decide what they want to do with it. There is so much tax money that goes towards discretionary military spending in the U.S., and out of all the people that I see talking online and just all the content that's out there, I completely agree with the fact that the U.S. spends way too much money on military purposes, and we could easily use even just a fraction of that money and put it back in people's pockets, or at the very least, I wouldn't consider this necessarily a small government win, but if we even took out some of the money away from military industrial stuff and put it towards like improving the educational structure or helping people, I don't know, just doing anything better than that, like restructuring Social Security so that people actually get more of their own money that has been taken away from them and put into this system where they are promised, quote unquote, to get the money back at a certain time once they retire. I mean, Social Security as a system itself is completely broken. I don't think it's going to exist in a few years, because you either start telling people that they're going to get less money than they were promised, or you just stop the whole system as a whole so that you can start paying back people what they've been promised. I mean, to be spending more than is being put in, that is just debt in a nutshell. So, anyways, I think that covers the tax part pretty effectively. People need to be trusted with their own money. People who are earning their own money, they need to be given an opportunity to spend that as they see fit, learn what it looks like to use money responsibly, and the more that people are entrusted with and the more that they learn how to do that on their own, the better things can go. We don't have to live in a society where we're outsourcing all of our responsibility to other people or organizations.